James Harden is one of the most hated players in the NBA. From his obnoxious playstyle to his multiple trade requests, James Harden has become enemy number one for most NBA fans and critics alike. But where does this all stem from? How did Harden go from being arguably the greatest scorer of all time to one of the most hated players in the entire league? If you ever watched James Harden play when he was with the Houston Rockets, he was arguably the greatest scorer ever. In his 9 seasons with the Rockets, he averaged 30 points and shot over 44% from the field, including countless 60-point games and 40-point triple-doubles. He ended up winning the scoring title 3 times in a row, which is something that's only been accomplished by 6 players in NBA history. He was virtually unstoppable at the time. Alongside his high scoring outbursts, he was also extremely efficient. And I could sit here and give you numbers after numbers after numbers after numbers to tell you why James Harden was arguably the greatest scorer ever at the time. But quite frankly, that's not what you came here for, and honestly, I don't feel like looking up all those numbers. Just know at that time, if you were to guard James Harden in a game, he'd probably do one of 3 things. He's either A, going to hit you with a nasty step back jump shot, B, go to the rim and hit you with a disgusting Euro step, or C, he's going to get fouled and he's going to be at the free throw line. It was this very simplistic playstyle that James Harden had that made NBA fans so upset. One of Harden's greatest attributes was his ability to get to the foul line. He led the league multiple times in free throw attempts when he was with the Rockets and is currently 6th all time in free throws made. But it wasn't until a game in 2019 where critics really started opening up their eyes to how many free throws James Harden really takes a night, when he had this historic night where he shot 24 free throws and made all 24 of those free throws. Fans and critics alike began to claim that James Harden's playstyle is simply just looking for the foul call, making the game of basketball boring just seeing a guy continuously running to the free throw line. But getting a ton of free throws is normal if you're a great scorer in the NBA. Michael Jordan averaged 11.9 free throws a game one season, which is higher than anything James Harden has ever averaged. When Kevin Durant won his first scoring title in 2010, he made the 6th most free throws in a single season of all time. And of course, no record is real without mentioning the great Wilt Chamberlain, who averaged an absurd 17 free throws in one game in the entire season. And if you put that into the context of James Harden shooting 11 free throws a game, well, it looks kind of normal for a guy who is scoring 30 plus points a night. But it wasn't just the fact that James Harden was shooting a bunch of free throws, it was the way that James Harden got these free throws that really made fans so upset. Harden often got criticized for his flopping that would result in foul calls. It got to a point where James Harden's flopping actually became an art, and anytime you would see him drive to the rim, more likely he's going to put on a performance for the referee and get to the foul line even if he deserved it or not. And Harden was so successful at doing this that he inspired other great players to do the same thing. Guys like Trae Young, Chris Paul, and Steph Curry have all mastered the art of look like they're getting hit after shooting a 3-point shot. Things got so bad that in 2021, the NBA made a new rule to combat players looking for foul calls. And many labeled this rule the James Harden rule. With his unpleasant playstyle, James Harden has become target number 1 to anyone that hates the modern style of NBA basketball. But what happened next is really what pushed Harden's hatred to another level. Halfway through the 2020-2021 season, James Harden became fed up with the Houston Rockets. The GM at the time, Daryl Morey, had stepped down from head of basketball operations. He was a guy that gave Harden everything he wanted in Houston: the coach, the stars, the money, anything. But when Harden became unsatisfied with the team, what he did next, a lot of people looked at it and said was unethical. Showing up late to training camp because he wanted to go party with his rapper friend Lil Baby out in Vegas and was seen at multiple strip clubs around Houston. To compound on that, this was during the COVID pandemic, so there was strict league rules over going out without a mask in crowded places. Harden's partying with Lil Baby resulted in a fine from the NBA and some time away from the team. When he finally did return to the Rockets, he looked uninterested and overweight, even calling out his teammates and telling them that they were not good enough to win games.
We're just not good enough. We don't obviously chemistry, talent-wise, just everything. And
shortly after these comments, Harden got his wish and was dealt to the Brooklyn Nets to join his former teammate Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. To complete the trade, the Nets traded away their young talent in Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, going all in on their new big three of Harden, Durant, and Irving. The trio was supposed to be the greatest offense that the league has ever seen. And they were for about 16 games. Because due to injury in a vaccine shot, the trio could never stay on the court at the same time. After only 13 months there in a second round exit, Harden secretly demanded a trade away from Brooklyn. This time, Harden had his eyes on the Philadelphia 76ers, pairing himself up with future MVP Joel Embiid. And on February 10, 2022, Harden got his wish and was sent to the Sixers in exchange for Ben Simmons. Not only did Harden now get to team up with Joel Embiid, but he was also reunited with his beloved GM, Daryl Morey. Now this is the part of the story that actually gets very interesting. Morey ended up taking over head of basketball operations for the Sixers a month after leaving the Houston Rockets. Upon arriving to Philadelphia, his first order of business was to get rid of his unhappy star in Ben Simmons. So when rumors started swirling that Harden might want out of Brooklyn, he had a package ready for the Brooklyn Nets, which reunited him and James Harden back once again, this time in Philadelphia. The duo of Joel Embiid and James Harden seemed perfect on paper and actually looked pretty well on the court. James Harden took more of a playmaking role and Embiid was more of the head scorer. And Embiid actually also won his first MVP award with James Harden at the helm. Harden seemed to be bought in on the Sixers, even declining his $47.4 million player option to sign a 2-year, $68 million contract. A pay cut that would allow Daryl Morey and the Sixers to bring in PJ Tucker and Daniel House Jr. The hope was that this would help them compete for a championship. However, that fell through after multiple second round exits in back-to-back years, leaving Harden with the chance to leave the Sixers in the upcoming offseason. Instead, he opted into his $35.6 million player option with the agreement that Daryl Morey would send him home to LA to play for the Los Angeles Clippers. Once again, James Harden had requested a trade elsewhere, the third time in 4 seasons. After months of trying to figure out a deal, the trade talks between the Sixers and the Clippers ended, and the Sixers informed James Harden that they planned on bringing him back for the upcoming season. This is really when Harden became upset with Morey and the Sixers and led to a lot of trust issues between the two, which gave us one of the funniest clips in NBA offseason, James Harden randomly calling out Daryl Morey in China.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again.
Those comments would land Harden a $100,000 fine from the league. But the damage was already done. The relationship between Harden and Morey could not be repaired. Harden even hinted at possibly playing in China if Morey does not trade him to the Los Angeles Clippers. Although there's probably never was no merit to those words, but it just showed you the dedication that Harden had on not playing for Daryl Morey ever again. As training camp rolled around, once again, Harden was nowhere to be found. And at this time, it was clear that both sides were over this partnership, with the Sixers not allowing Harden to come on the team plane and telling him to train at home instead. Weeks of speculation went by whether the Sixers would keep him or they would trade him over to the Clippers. And eventually we got our answer, and James Harden got his wish, trade to the Los Angeles Clippers. This makes it his 4th team in 4 years, only growing the Harden hatred to levels we have never seen before. Critics say that Harden is a drama-filled superstar that you just can't win with. And he did not help his case when he said this.
You know, I'm not a system player. I am a system.
At this point, James Harden haters are boiling with frustration over how arrogant this guy really seems to be. The thing is, people don't simply hate James Harden because of his play style or because he demands a trade. They hate him because he abuses that play style that leads to more free throws. And they hate him because of the way he conducts himself after demanding a trade. It's even got to a point where he seems like he has a whole system laid out on what he will do after he demands a trade. Request a trade, start playing noticeably worse, party more, probably go hang out with Lil Baby, show up to training camp late, and then come back overweight. There's even a conspiracy out there that people say that James Harden wears a fat suit to look overweight and out of shape to get himself out of the situation he is in. And I'm not saying it's true or not, but it just shows you how much we already expect James Harden to do and what we think he's going to do after a trade request. And the thing that really drives people crazy over all of this is that it works. Harden is not the first player to request a trade. Kevin Durant did it, Anthony Davis did it, even Kobe Bryant did it one time, even though it fell through. But no one has requested more trades than James Harden. It seems that there's not a team that knows how to make him happy and stay for a long time. Now with the Clippers, he joins a loaded roster of Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. And if this team fails to win, we could possibly see James Harden on another new team next year, because he is a free agent at the end of this season. Or knowing Harden, he might demand a trade halfway through if things aren't going right. All jokes aside, I don't condone hating on players, but it's something that happens in the NBA regardless. And sometimes makes you wonder where it all comes from. And I think this Mavericks announcer said it best on why Harden has so much hate in the NBA.
You wanted a certain coach, they brought in Mike D'Antoni. You want to play a certain style, they played it. You wanted Dwight Howard, they brought him in and got rid of him when you were tired of him. You wanted Chris Paul, they brought him in and got rid of him when you were tired of him. They brought in your old friend Russell Westbrook. You want to go to Vegas on off days? They looked away. You wanted the team to stay over so you could go out at night? They changed the schedule, and it didn't work. And you know what? You said, I'm going to break up with my whoopee. Not good enough. I see the bright lights in New York. I want to go there. My old pal, Kevin Durant. It's going to work. The big three. And all after 1 year, you wanted out. You realized, oh my gosh, I took this guy for granted, the guy that believed in me. I went back with Daryl Morey. They traded Ben Simmons for you. How did they pull that off? And you know what? You went there and you got a partner who got the MVP. He won the MVP. And what did you say afterwards? You said, they didn't hand me the reins. You're the point guard. You were holding the reins. And what did you do when you had the reins? You scored 9 points in Game 7 against Boston. You blew a 3-2 series lead. So they fired their coach. Not good enough. You broke up with your guy who believed in you again. You said, the bright lights of LA, that's where I want to go. Let's see if that works. Listen, James, have you ever had those friends who had bad roommates? Over and over, they complained about their bad roommates. This guy's terrible. The bad roommate here. They never thought to be self-aware enough that they're the bad roommate. They're the problem. Hey, James, you're the problem.